With Arsenal being on very good form overall, it is time to look at the next game, which is Southampton at the weekend. Now, I think this game is a perfect opportunity to rotate and use different options, while we still should be very dominant over what I consider the worst team in the league. In this video, we're going to go through who should potentially start and how you can get at Southampton in an easy way. So let's get into it. Now, going into the Southampton game, I think Arsenal are starting to get better every week. Now, even though they almost slipped up against Leicester at the weekend, they utterly dominated them, and I actually think it's one of the best performances Arsenal have had in a long while. That being said, they did get over the line in the end, and they added that with a comfortable win against PSG in the week where they didn't ever really look like they were going to lose. I think Arsenal have been going from strength to strength recently, and even with a hard schedule got through that and now have got some easier games where they can really prove their quality. And of course, Southampton definitely fits into that category. Now, going into this game, I think Southampton are probably the worst team in the league. They are getting thrashed every week. They've only scored 2 goals so far, and I watched their game against Bournemouth and they were utterly awful. They're a team that want to dominate the ball, and you can see that by the amount of possession they actually have in games, and on the ball they actually make some good interchange and can counter teams very well. The issue is the quality is not always there, and sometimes they are going to make some poor mistakes, and defensively they are a massive mess. When they don't have the ball, they really don't know how to get at teams, and when they are penned into their final third, they really struggle to get out and really lose the ball a lot. This is definitely because they want to play a possession based system, which never works for promoted teams when they come up. It literally never does, so I don't know why they continue to do it. And against Arsenal away, I have to think that they're not going to get much possession again in that game. And this game has to be looking at different because it is an international break after this game, so Arsenal will not play for 2 weeks, which gives Arsenal, I think, a little bit more freedom in picking their 11. And although they probably could pick anyone that they want who is fit, it might be worth resting some players who have clearly been playing too much than they should have and are starting to get cramp and pick up some small injuries here and there. Now, the first player that fits into that category is definitely, you've got to look at the fullbacks. Now, Jurrien Timber came off against PSG at half time. Apparently it was nothing really serious, but he felt a little something off in his muscle in his leg, so he decided that it wasn't worth it and they brought him off, and he wasn't supposed to play as much as he has from that ACL injury, of course, at the start of this year, but because Ben White has been out, that has unfortunately meant sure that he had to play. So I do expect him to be rested in this game. I don't think he'll start. He could be on the bench if he's fit enough. Potentially we could get him out of that Netherlands duty and he can rest up for a few weeks. I do think it's not worth risking these players that are very key to our attack, although I do think Timber and Calafiori do make the attack a lot better. I do think we could subside them and actually make the team still alright. And one of the ways you could do that is bringing Ben White back if he is fit. I'm not really sure at this point, and that may be the way to go because there's not much replacement in the right back spot, because I'm still not sure about Tomiyasu and the fitness of him as well. I also think Calafiori will start this game, and I think he should, because I think he's more important going forward, which I actually think is going to be obviously more important in the Southampton game. But you definitely could see someone like Kivior come in maybe for a start, or you could potentially see Lewis Skelly or Zinchenko if you want to give them an opportunity. But I would expect Calafiori to play in left back, maybe in right back if we have to move him there again, but obviously he's very unfamiliar with that role, because I do think that will give us a lot of attack and threat early on, even if we don't have the person we want in that right back spot. But arguably the defence I think will be overall fine. Southampton want the ball and they're not going to get the ball a lot, so they're going to have to rely on counter-attacking natures, which they can be good at sometimes in transitions, but you've got to think that the attack and threat that they have shouldn't be good enough to really get that many chances considering what we do defensively. So the big questions really come with the midfield and the attacking area of the team. Now, I do think the midfield is probably the most interesting part with all the moving factors. Partey has played every single game this season, which is kind of a miracle that he's actually been fit for that long at this point. Rice has come back in the team recently and looked a lot better with Calafiori helping him on that side, and we've seen a bit of a 4-4-2 system with Trossard and Havertz being the false nines together. Now, this could definitely stick because it has been working. I think this is a perfect game for Trossard because he loves it when teams are stuck in their own area and is very effective at getting out and running at teams that are stuck basically in their own box. This could be a perfect game for Trossard, which I do think he has been playing well recently as well, so I think he deserves the opportunity to stay, but also could be rested looking at the other options that we have. Now, straight away off the bat, I think Partey will be rested in this game. He is someone that really excels at winning the ball back and passing it off. Don't think that's going to be necessarily that important in this game, and I expect Arsenal to have a lot of control. Also, he's played a lot, so you would want to rest him anyway. And that does leave onto the other midfielders. Of course, we're going to have to speak about Mikel Merino. Has just come back from injury. I think he was brilliant in the 26 minutes he played against PSG, but in that game he played a very defensive way. He was sitting back in the low block that we had and making sure they couldn't get past. That would be really cool to see that attack and threat that he has in them half spaces against Southampton, and it could be the perfect game to get off some of that rustiness from him and shake it off. It depends how fit he is at the the end of the day, but he could easily start the game and come off at half time, or vice versa, to give him some considerable minutes in the Premier League for the first time, obviously since Newcastle, and see how he can keep up to speed in that sort of level, especially against probably our easiest league game of the season. But of course, this all leads on to the main player that we all want to talk about, Nwaneri. This was loan. I said about this in my recent video about him. This is the perfect opportunity to start him in this game. I think he deserves more minutes than he has got. He's looked excellent when he came against Leicester and all the games that he's been on before that. And this is the one game where you can really start him, or at least give him considerable minutes. I want him to play around a half, or at least over half an hour in this game, to let him show what he can do. It depends what the score is and what the sort of on-field decisions are mattering. If we're 4-0 up, we can maybe bring him on, or we might start with him in any necessary. But he is just so good. I think we all want to see more of him. We're seeing a little bit of Lewis Skelly as well, who, you know, could always play in this game. And I think this is the perfect opportunity to play against what I would say is a weak team. I don't want to underestimate Southampton, but how they play football, I just don't think is going to work for them at the Emirates. So I do think it is a way to get at them, and I do want to see Nwaneri in them pockets going at a team that are defending for their lives. I also think if you put considerable leaders around Nwaneri like they did in the Bolton game, he will be even better. Potentially Jorginho could come in this game. We are going to sustain a lot of possession on the ball. Could be a perfect game for Jorginho just to slot in that role and pick brilliant balls out, and have Rice covering for him on the transition just in case players are running at them. These two and Nwaneri could definitely work if Merino isn't fit, but you could also potentially see Merino come in and Nwaneri, a bit like the system we want to play with Odegaard as the full Arsenal midfield, maybe a Rice, Nwaneri, Merino system. But I don't think he'll risk playing a 17-year-old who hasn't started before in the league with another player that hasn't started either, just because he's just signed for the club. Knowing Arteta, I don't really think that's how he's going to work, but it definitely could be an option. And I'd say that is probably the most complicated bit about the team. The forward line, I think, kind of speaks for itself. You can always play Havertz, Martinez, Saka. I think all of them have been really good the last couple of games, and they all completely deserve their spot, as well as Trossard, who has been playing a bit of a hybrid role, but has more in midfield. But you could always see Sterling come in. I think he looks up ready. I think in that Bolton game, he made a few mistakes, I think, on the ball, but overall, I think he showed a lot of quality. I know it's only against Bolton, so it'd be interesting to see if he could do that against Southampton, or at least if these players don't start. I think if we are winning comfortably at half time, you could maybe bring them on and see where we can go at. Now, I'm not going to act like Southampton's going to be the easiest game in the world, because they are going to defend for their lives. What I've seen, they haven't been great at doing that recently. I think even against Bournemouth, they were quite poor. But you know what happens when teams come to the Emirates? They always try a lot harder, and Ramsdale in goal might have an absolute masterclass against us. But nonetheless, it should be quite an exciting game, because I want Arteta to not only experiment, but also maybe find the full version of Arsenal we want. Obviously, Martin Odegaard isn't there, but other than that, if Timber is fit, if Merino is fit, it is arguably the strongest team we could put out in many different ways. I don't think people like Gabriel Jesus deserve to be in the team, because I think he's been poor when he's come on a couple of times in a row, and I think you earn your spots within the game. Trossard has, I think Calafiori did, and even Timber did in a extent, even though Ben White is injured. These players have earned their way into the team, and I think Merino and Nwaneri should continue to do that with their performances so far. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Who do you think should play in this game? I think more importantly, what is your midfield looking at? I want to see all of your suggestions, because I genuinely think there's about 5 or 6 players that really have a shot at starting in this game. Of course, thank you guys for watching. As always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and watch my video yesterday where I spoke about Trossard's new role in detail in the last few games. See you in the next one.